Welcome everybody. I'm Dorit and I am representing the Israel Cultural Desk with the KOH Library. We are honored to host today Tzvika Shulman, who is the chairman of the Lublin Descendants chapter in Israel. And he will tell us about his life philosophy and the way he discovered his family's roots 500 years back and his journey, how he became the chairman of the society. We will start with a short introduction, which is taped and is accompanied by a very nice presentation that Tzvika introduced to us of his family, his parents, and photos of Lublin and the journey. So Danny, please, if you can.
Good evening. My name is Tzvika Shulman. I was born in Israel 10 years after the State of Israel was established, and I'm a Lubliner. What shall we talk about this evening? We should talk about identity, how I found at age 50 that I am more Polish than Israeli. We shall talk about the Jews of Lublin who were murdered, destroyed, and expelled in World War II. We shall talk about the community of Lublin Jews descendants that I preside over, an association that was founded in Israel soon after the Holocaust and still active today. And we shall talk about the Polish people, non-Jews, in Lublin, for whom the memory of the Jewish inhabitants of their city is their guideline, their life task, and an extraordinary mission worthy of note. My parents were Holocaust survivors. My father from Lublin, Poland, lost his entire family, brothers, sister, and parents in the Holocaust. My mother, from a small town near Warsaw, lost her parents, sister, and brother, after whom I was named, Ersh, translated in Hebrew to Tzvi. In 1949, my parents immigrated to Israel. My brother, my sister, and I, as usual at that time, were raised by our parents without telling and without asking. They raised me as an Israeli. They tried not to speak before me in their languages, Yiddish and Polish, and almost never told me about the horror they went through and about the deep sorrow in their heart for the loss of their families in the Holocaust. The reason for this behavior is not our subject today. I felt like an Israeli. I was a real tzabar. My life started in 1959, and only the future was important to me then. 10 years ago, and in a very surprising manner, came the spark that ignited the overwhelming wish to research my family heritage. The journey was problematic, for at that time there wasn't anyone to ask anymore. My father passed away when I was 10 years old, and the health state of my mother left to be determined. Nevertheless, my mother told me a little about my father's family, whom she never met, and about her own family. This was a starting point for a comprehensive research. Most of the Polish Jews were slaughtered, but the archives with birth, marriage, and death certificate of ownership, and building permits remain almost untouched. While researching the subject, my wish to know more increased constantly. My appetite increased with the accumulation of knowledge, and the motivation became stronger, and I waited for the new information to arrive day by day. Slowly, in the course of the years, I became acquainted with the people in Poland who helped me in my research for information. I succeeded in building a complete and accurate family tree from the beginning of the 19th century. I discovered every town and every address in which my family members were born and lived. I tracked their wandering journey for more than 100 years until the Second World War. I found every document, merit certificate and death certificate of each one of them. I found out about their place of residence and whether it was owned or rented. I found out about their occupation, their businesses, they own, places they leased or bought in the course of the years. It was exciting detective work that left me sleepless for many nights. During this period, I also became active in the Association of Lubliners in Israel. I started traveling to Lublin to meet the people who helped me in the research and showed me the places where my family lived for hundreds of years. In 2017, a World Congress reunion was held in Lublin for all the Lublin descendants in the world. I was asked at that reunion to tell my story to the audience. After the reunion, the members of the Israeli Association asked me to become the chairman of the organization. It was natural for me to accept this post after the road I traveled, in order to continue the momentum of the search for this important thing which I find very difficult to define. The Lubliners Association was established immediately after the Second World War as a result of the strong need of people from the town and its vicinity to gather together for meetings of support, mutual help, telling memories, talking in Yiddish, and mutual consultation. There were among the members some who had left Lublin before the war, and some were survivors who escaped during the war or survived the hell. They wrote a community book full of information about people and their work along generations. They shared the memories of their families, of the history of Lublin in a yearly newspaper. With the passing of the years, this generation slowly disappeared, and there was a danger that their children, whom we call the second generation, would not continue the tradition of the meetings. To our surprise, the second generation understood the great importance of the meetings, of maintaining this tradition, and was determined to remember and not to forget. לזכור ולא לשכוח. The association holds a yearly conference and a yearly commemoration, publishes a yearly newspaper called Kol Lublin, the Voice of Lublin, and holds numerous other activities which I will be happy to tell you about. We have 500 members in our community. Together with their families and children, it's a lot of people. About 100 of them come to our meetings from all over the country. Our splendid newspaper is published in Hebrew and English in 500 hard copies and in digital format too. Today, during the Corona period, we conduct our activities via Zoom, which enable Lubliners from all over the world to participate in our meetings. The association is actually a benevolent association based on contribution from members and is not subsidized in any way by the government. Formerly, such association existed also in other places like New York, Los Angeles, Montreal, Toronto, São Paulo, Antwerpen, and more. Today, our association is the only one and includes members from all over the world. In the last 10 years, I felt that my identity is shifting and changing. I am no longer pure Israeli. I have a strong mixed identities based of hundreds of years that my family was living in Poland. Their culture, tradition, the food, the music, their dreams and wishes became a part of me, together with my short history as an Israeli. When I walk in Lublin, I know that what my eyes see today, my father, his mother, and his grandparents, and the former generation, so many years ago. So we share the same view. I have a privilege to study and know this tradition, and I am grateful to them for being here. It is natural that I should know, as every normal person, the names of my grandparents, their place of residence, and their way of life, even though a terrible war has prevented me from knowing that. Now, after completing my research, I feel much better. I feel normal. I feel like everybody. The fact that I know their footpath and the names, and even the names of the babies in the family who didn't survive, makes me a different person. And now I can call myself a Lubliner. At the end of 2018, I sent a letter to the Israeli writer Amos Oz. I asked him, why is it important to research the family heritage? Amos Oz answered in a handwritten letter about a month before he passed away that the age of a person does not have to begin at the day of his birth. If a person studies the life of his father, it is as if his life had started then. And if he studies the life of his grandfather, his life starts then. In this manner, you can extend and enrich your life. Lublin is a big city in Poland and the capital of the Lublin district of Eastern Poland. It has a population of over 340 inhabitants. The number of inhabitants in 1939 was about 120,000, of which a third, approximately 43,000, were Jews. Today, only some 20 Jews live in the city, almost none of them from the families that lived there before the war. 700 years ago, Jews started to settle down in Lublin together with the Christian community, side by side. We can find in Lublin an old Jewish cemetery with tombs that are over 500 years old. Lublin is proud of the phenomenal building of the famous yeshiva Chachmei Lublin, the most famous yeshiva in Europe. The Daf Yomi, that is read every day by Jews throughout the world, was created by the town rabbi Rabbi Shapiro, who founded the yeshiva of the wise men of Lublin. Its Jewish inhabitants call Lublin Yerushalayim de Polin. The German army occupied Lublin in September 1939, and pogroms against the Jews started immediately. In April 1941, all the Jews were compressed into a small area of the town, the ghetto. The conditions there were inhuman. Many people died from typhus pandemic. The Lublin ghetto was the first to be liquidated in the frame of the Nazi final solution. Starting March 16, 1942, Lublin Jews were sent to Belzec's death camp in a daily shipment of 1,500 people. There were almost no survivors from Belzec. Some 500,000 were murdered there, and only 3 men survived the camp. The rest of the Lublin Jews, our families, were murdered in the town, in the Kremnitz forest, and in the Majdanek camp near Lublin. 98% of the Lublin Jews were killed in the Holocaust, a disaster that the human mind cannot comprehend. In my visits to Lublin, I met a group of people whom I would like to call magnificent, like the Lamed Vav Tzadikim people. The group is organized under the name Theater NN. It has today some 40 non-Jewish members, and its purpose is to study the life and the heritage left by the Jews who lived there and are no more. This group was founded by 2 men, Tomek and Vitek. Tomek was born in Lublin, graduated in the 90s of the 20th century as a nuclear physicist, and found to his surprise that more than 43,000 Jews lived in his town 50 years ago. In all of studies in Lublin, from primary school to university, nobody told him about this fact. When he found that this information is correct, that 98% of the Jewish population of the town were murdered in the Holocaust, he decided to do something about this. They founded the organization called Theater NN. The 2N represents the no name of the Jews murdered during the war. The group leased a building in the old Jewish ghetto and started their mission. Their first task was to buy 43,000 cardboard files. Each one will bear the name of a Jew who lived in the town in 1939 and will include as much data as possible. Who were his brothers, sisters, education, addresses, possession, letters, photos, etc. Slowly, with the passing of the years, they have completed about 17,000 files with names and authenticated data. Another task which they successfully completed was to build a miniature model of the Jewish town that has been destroyed. With the aid of Google Earth, they also built a website which makes possible to walk the streets of 1939 Lublin, streets that exist no more, streets and buildings that became parking lots and lawns. It became possible to walk in the morning, at noon, or in the evening, to see the buildings and to make acquaintance with the Jewish families. They gathered testimonials from former residents of Lublin all over the world, documented them in writing and in film strips, which they present to a large audience from Lublin, Poland, and the whole world. They have collecting of rare pictures, special fonts in Hebrew and Yiddish, books printed technology, paper, and binding products in the past of Lublin Jewish scholars. The group also consolidates a Jewish culture and literature of the last centuries. The books of Isaac Bashevis Singer were translated to Polish by a Lublin translator and presented by Vitek as plays before a Polish and worldwide audience. Polish artists played Jewish songs in the Jewish klezmer tradition. In September 2020, they organized a Jewish festival in Lublin. In summer of 2022, they plan to organize a World Lubliner reunion. On the other hand, there are many people in Poland who say to Lis are not happy with their work, but Tomek and Vitek have been determined in their way for the last 30 years and even produced new ideas in order to teach the new generation about racism and try to make it disappear. Tomek, Vitek, Theater NN, and the entire group represent, in my opinion, an example for peace among societies. I hope that in the future there will be more groups like Theater NN in Poland, also in Israel, and in the whole world. My purpose in this lecture was to tell about myself, my family, our Lublin Association, the city of Lublin, and the activity of Theater NN. But not only. I would also like to ignite the spark in each one of you, to study your own history, to be proud of the achievement, the creativity, and the action of our parents. On the other hand, learn the mistakes made in the past by all and try to become better people. Thank you for listening. Shalom.
Mute. Thank you, Tzvika. This was amazing, and I would like to thank you so much and tell you that your journey is each and every one's of our journeys. We all need to do this journey. We all need to know what our roots are and where we came from. Unfortunately, it's not always possible. You're the lucky one who has 500 years of history that is documented. Many families have nothing left of their documentation. Many of the documentation were destroyed in a very, very cruel way. Very, very cruel way. And I would like to open this to everybody to have Tzvika answer any questions you might have. I can't see anybody here right now, but I'm not sure. I can't see you guys. So if you want to ask any questions, feel free to unmute yourself.
I have a question. I was in Lublin last summer, and it appears the Polish government is becoming very right-wing and anti-Semitic. How is that affecting your organization in Lublin?
Well, you have to set apart between the government and other people there. You find out that you have many people that are very anti-Semite in Poland, but on the other hand, you have a lot of people that are wonderful people that really want to support, help, and they don't have a little piece of racism in their blood, yes? So when I go to Poland, I'm looking on the bright side and not on the people that I don't want to see. And basically, as an organization, we are very, very small to fight governments, yes? But on the other hand, you can see that this governments, you can see them in many countries in Europe and many countries in the world, and probably it's right now something that is common in all the world. So it's not only Poland that is behaving like this, but there are wonderful people there, and when you see those people, it makes you feel like to connect them. Were you at TNTRNN when you visited Lublin?
I'm sorry, what?
When you were in Lublin, did you visit TNTRNN?
No, I wish I had. We
Yeah.
were just in there for a day. We passed through.
I see. Okay. Next time.
We're gonna have to go.
I'm sorry. Guys,
Yeah.
feel free to ask questions.
I would like to say something and then ask a question if I could. I'd first like to say that I found your presentation very moving. And I want to thank you for all of the work that you put in to sharing this with us. And I plan on submitting a copy of your presentation into the Holocaust library that we have on our synagogue campus, but it's the largest Holocaust library in Northern California. It's called the Central Valley Holocaust Library, and I'm going to be submitting a copy of this beautiful presentation into the library so that it can be used to educate students and teachers. I think that your message is so valuable. The question I wanted to ask you was that you mentioned that your parents went to great lengths not to speak of the atrocities that they lived through.
Yes.
And I was wondering what they would think now of the work that you have put into spreading their story and their message.
Well, it's a good question because I have to think right now about this. I would guess that they would be very much surprised. Yes, because I have a feeling they wanted everything to be buried. I think they wanted that I won't go and I won't learn about this history, that I won't find this terrible thing that happened, and they really wanted a new start for me and to my family. From their point of view, I can understand them, but so I think that they will have mixed feelings. I don't think they will be happy that I did it. Yes, I know that the first time I went to Poland, my mother was still alive, and she begged me not to go there. She said, oh, I'm very afraid they will kill you. They are not nice people. But this is not what I found. I found different thing, and I found very nice people. Many of them, not one or not two, many of them. So I think it's a new generation also there, and I'm not sorry for a second that I went this way and made all of this research. It changed my life. It gives a lot of strength into myself to know the history, or to have a blank mind there without knowing anything.
Yes. Wow.
If I might add,
Mhm.
I completely
I don't hear.
and as a second generation as well, not knowing anything about my family before the war, it's very liberating to find out your ancestry. It's very important. And like Tzvika said, our parents didn't want to talk about it because it brought them back to places that they didn't want to be, they didn't want to suffer, and they were, in their mind, they always tried to protect us by not telling us. They thought they are protecting us. And plus, there was this aspect that they wanted to put everything behind them. They just didn't want to, they just didn't want to face it. It was too much. And in those times, there were no psychologists the way they are today, and you couldn't go get help. And it was totally different. You came out of ashes and you had to rebuild your life. And we, the children, were the proof that they came out of the ashes and there is life. So we don't want to talk about the past. Don't ask questions. We won't tell you anything. And we had to, I remember myself as a younger person in high school, I had to go and pester my aunts to tell me stories about my parents because they didn't want to talk. They didn't want to talk. And then my aunts didn't want to talk about themselves. So they would talk about my parents and tell me all the things about my parents, but then they wouldn't talk about themselves. And it was frustrating. So yeah, it is, am I right, Tzvika?
Yeah, absolutely right. I know that each family is different.
Mhm.
In Israel, we had one more pressure. Also, there was something it's called Kura Itur. Maybe somebody can help me in English how to say Kura Itur. When
The melting pot. It's the melting pot.
when the survivors came over to Israel after the war, the Israeli authorities there, they wanted them to forget. They didn't allow them to speak in their own language. They didn't allow them to speak in,
They
yes.
encouraged it.
And basically they were ashamed even in passing their traditions, yes. So it was terrible for them twice, because once they suffered in the Holocaust, and secondly, nobody wanted them to continue with their traditions. So it was a terrible time for them. And you have many of them that didn't talk to nobody because they didn't have whom to talk. And there was no, like you said, there was no help from psychological help in the country. So I still remember many people are wandering in the streets, crazy, like we say crazy, but we didn't know what their past. Now I know that their past was terrible, and that's why we saw them in the street of Tel Aviv or other places just looking very weird.
As a matter of fact, it was encouraged by everybody to forget the past. We are a new nation. You are Israelis now, and we need to rebuild we need to build the country, basically. So in 1948 and on, since the nation was established, and those people who survived the Holocaust, many of them came from refugee camps and encampment camps in Cyprus. After they've spent time in all those death camps, they were deported by the British to Cyprus, and they stayed there for years until the state was established. And they went directly to the battlefields. Some of them went directly to the battlefields without even speaking a word of Hebrew. They were not encouraged to speak about it. They were encouraged to forget about it. You are now an Israeli. You are now have a new identity, and you need to put the past behind you. The fact that they lost wives and husbands and children and parents and brothers and sisters, was something that they needed to keep to themselves and not talk about it. Okay, you lost them, now build a new family, build a new life. And as Tzvika says, there were a lot of people, and I remember as a child, there were a lot of people, older, mostly men and sometimes women, that would wander the streets and talk to themselves, and sometimes in Yiddish, sometimes in German, sometimes in Hungarian or Romanian, and we thought they were crazy people, and we used to make fun of them as children because we didn't understand. There was nobody to explain it to us. So what Tzvika is telling us with his story is that we were encouraged to be the new Israeli. We are the new Israeli, the new generation. And like Tzvika said, he's the lucky one who was able to go back and study and research his past and his family. Not all of us has that. Not all of us has that. I know a lot of people don't want to know, really don't want to know. And a lot of people find it hard to face the horrors that their parents went through. And now at our age, we are getting to the age that our children are starting to ask us questions, and I have no answers. Me and my cousins and my brother and my other cousins, we have no answers because we didn't ask. We were not encouraged to ask. So we need to do research, but Tzvika is lucky because he went back to Lublin and he found out 500 years of history. I'm happy for you, Tzvika.
Yeah.
Yeah. But on the other hand, it's hard. It's hard to face it. But it is, yeah. You're the lucky one.
Yeah, but you have to look at the bright side, because we are the one that were born after, and also the people in Poland are that are living right now today. They also were born after, and so you cannot tell to those people that that the war was because of them and all the murders were because of them. Maybe it was because of their parents, but not because of them. So now when you go there, you can feel that you have many people that are new generation. And I really wish, I mean, I cannot tell you how much I wish that in my country, in Israel, we would have some people like we have in Poland, that they really feel that people lived in Israel before Israel. And we need to remember them also, even if they are not Jewish people, even if they are a different culture, yes? But right now in Israel, it's like even terrible than in Poland, because nobody wants to remember the past. They took tractors, they removed all the buildings, they burn all the places with certificate in the city halls, and nobody can research, if he's not an Israeli, anything what happened in Israel in the past. So I'm right now, I'm confused because I live in Israel, I see very nice things happening in Poland, and I say to myself, why not in Israel? Why nobody is doing it in Israel? How come we suffered so much, we don't understand other people? And my wife is here in the audience, and she knows that it's a day-by-day struggle for me. This fact that people in Israel are not doing the same thing, at least what people are doing in Lublin, and not only in Lublin, in Lodz, in Poznan, in Plock. I visited many towns in Poland. In many places they're doing it, and
they're doing it also in Germany and Hungary, less in Hungary, but more in Germany. They do it, yes.
Yeah.
Well, we as Israelis, we have to learn. We are the new generation. We have to learn how to do the same thing. We do for ourselves and for our families.
It will happen. It will happen someday.
Yes, exactly. We are keeping up the hopes.
Yeah. I hope so.
Talia, I hope it answered your question. I'm sorry, it was a long one.
No, it did. I'm just very touched and feel very emotional. So I can only imagine what your journey of discovery must have been like for you and for your lovely wife. I'm supporting you through that. It must have been a lot of tough days and tough nights.
Exactly.
You mentioned that the Lublin chapter in Israel that has many activities.
Yes.
Could you just kind of expand on that a little bit and tell us what kind of
Okay.
activities you organize?
Okay. There is, you know, now we are in Corona time, so most of them are in Zoom. We cannot do the activities that are live, but I will. Every year in Holocaust Day in Israel, it's Holocaust Day in Israel is 14 days after Passover Seder, yes, after the Pesach Seder. So we conduct a memorial service near the Matzeva of the Lubliners in Tel Aviv, and people are gathering from all over the country to come to say the prayers in this graveyard. Basically, where the memorial Matzeva is, they went many years ago. I mean, I think it was in the 60s. They went to Lublin, to a place that they know that many Jews were murdered, and they took some ashes and they brought with them and they put it underneath this matzeva. So this is one activity that we are doing. Another activity that every year we have an annual meeting. If you would like, I will give Dorit the Zoom address, and it's going to be on the 26th of November this year. It's going to be open worldwide to all the Lubliners all over the world and whoever wants to participate. And in this year, this time, we are going to do something special, that each one will bring stories that they're passed by their parents, that the way the culture was at that time, like before the war and many more years before. So people from the memories of their parents, because not too many people are left to tell the stories anymore. So it's only stories that was passed in the family. So each one will have about 3 to 4 minutes, and he will tell his view of the tradition that he knows about. So we'll make alive a little bit the traditions that we have in the families. Except from this, we have also youth exchange that we are doing between youth from Lublin and youth from Israel, from a city called Rishon LeZion, that they are the twin city of Lublin in Israel. And those kids are coming to the homes of the survivors of second generation. They are interviewing them, and later on they do some activities together. Last time we did some cooking together for the whole day. And so they can see that the survivors were real, for real. It's not like it's letters in a book. They can speak to the people, and it felt a big impression. Except for this, we do other activities of every 2 months, something like this. We are traveling together to places, every time another place. So we're trying to share our community life, to make our community life more richer, and to bond together, because basically we are coming, all of us, we don't know each other, but we are coming from the same place. We ate the same food. We are coming from the same soil, and it's a feeling that 500 years we live together, the families. We cannot just throw it to the garbage. This big part of our tradition. I mean, for me, it's like
treasures. It's treasures.
Exactly.
Treasures.
And also we have as you saw, we have an annual magazine, very nicely formatted with very interesting stories about people, about their work, about history of the area, about activities that we do now. It's about 100 pages magazine, colored, and everybody can get it by email if he wants, or hard copy. It's no problem, and it's already now. I think it's the number 55 or 56 magazine that came out already. So it's many years of activity. You
We
can
can
get
get those links through Dorit.
Yeah, you can get it, but also if you do Call Lublin, you write Call Lublin in the internet, you will it will come up for you.
Okay, and I understand that Rele is a very accomplished chef.
Yeah.
And I wanted to give her a job. We did this wonderful program here in Sacramento where we connected generations through the recipes
Wow.
that were handed down, because a lot of the personal identity and family stories survived through the passing down of recipes.
She had
And we had this amazing program where we gathered recipes from second generation survivors, from their parents and their grandparents. And it was such a sweet way, literally sweet way of savoring the memories and the connections and the family stories. And then we filmed it. So I encourage you, when you have your big event, that you get somebody wonderful like our Danny Zeth, who can film it for you and preserve all of those stories and memories. Because
okay. Well, I wanted to add that another activity that we have, it started 6 years ago. 6 years ago, we said, wow, it's so nice to meet. Let's bring each one is favorite dish from the Polish tradition, and we gather together and we'll make lunch together or dinner. So at the first meeting came about 20 people to this meeting, but we said that we'll do it annual. So for the next meeting next year, already 30 people came. For the next meeting, 60 people came, and then for the fourth meeting, 90 people came. For the fifth meeting, we had about 120 people. Each one came with his own dish. But this year, on the Corona time, we couldn't gather, so we said we'll do it on the Zoom. So each one prepared a dish, showed it on the camera, and also he had to tell a story about food from his own family. There were wonderful stories that came out, each one from his own tradition, and hopefully next year we'll do it in live, but if it will be on Zoom, you are all invited.
oh, thank you. I will be first to be there. It sounds like a feast.
Yeah, it was a feast, and people,
more than one way.
people were involved from all over the world, from Sweden, from America, from England, from all over the world. They were participating in this. It was wonderful. I think that even somebody here was also. I don't know.
Yasha Kohan, a fabulous job that you're doing. This is what a heritage to pass on to your family, to your children. And,
yeah, I mean it came by I didn't plan it. It just came out like this, and now I can only look back on the road. But in the beginning, I didn't know towards what I'm going. It was like it led me by itself. It's not. I didn't plan it. Yes.
Yeah, it was your calling.
Yeah, it was my calling, exactly.
Well, you'll have to come and visit here in Sacramento, both of you.
I will, for sure.
I'm sorry. We have a question here. Fatima Diaz wants to ask a question. Then Tzvika.
Yes.
Hi, Fatima.
Tzvika, I think the story was not only touching, but very important. So my question is, how do you want to spread this lecture that you gave us to other people?
Well, I never thought about spreading it. It's like, not that I was thinking, I was sure that everybody would like to do it for themselves. Like, I mean, I felt so good doing it, so I'm sure everybody would do it. It's not that that we need to spread it. I was sure that it's in the blood of everyone to do it. Yes, and if not, not, but I'm telling you from my experience that I enjoyed the whole process. I'm not looking to spread it. It's not that I really want this lecture to go everywhere. It's
It should.
it should maybe, but it's not like this is my way, and I hope other people will also do the same thing. Maybe it's a little bit different, but it's okay.
The reason I think it would be good if it could be brought to a broader audience for more people to know is because I see the horror. I cannot imagine going to a town and see that at the same point in life, all your family ancestors have gone away because of what happened. But at the same time, I see that there is a lot of love in you. And so despite of the horrors that your parents suffered, they were able to make you a person with a lot of love. And so that's what I have been feeling from you since our conversation yesterday. So I think this is important that we suffered. That doesn't mean that we have to have hate or intolerance or whatever, but still you can do things with love. And I think that's why I think this is important for you to spread it, to have more people knowing this, the message.
You know, last 2 years ago, I sent a group of Polish, Israeli Polish from my community of Lublin to Poland. We organized a trip for them. I didn't go because I went so many times, but people went and they went, and when I spoke to them before they went, they were with a lot of hate to the Polish people, with a lot of anger, and it came from the parents. They never met a Polish guy before in their life, yes? Mm-hmm. But they still hate them just because their parents told them to hate. I'm sure this is something that is not right. This should be taught in school, that whatever the parents did is not the fault of their children, and you have to separate each person from the other. Even inside families, each child is a different person. And people should know that each one, you should judge him for himself, not as a group, yes? And that's what I do inside myself. I look at each one by himself. I don't see groups. If I see a group of people that are not behaving good, I go away. Yes, I just work with the people that are nice. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is a learning process.
Yeah, Michael. Michael.
Yeah, I think a story like this and the passion that you put into this research is, I can see a small cog of a huge wheel that can be used to rewrite history as it should be. So if more stories like this are created, you can calibrate all this information. And because there's no policing on the internet, in one way, it could be either lies or it could be truth. But the fact is, you're now putting a reality out to anyone who wants to either see it or don't see it. So I really like what you did.
Thanks. There are many stories like mine. Yes, it's not the only story. There are many, many, many stories like this, and many, many people that have, even people that not like me. I'm second generation. I really wasn't in the horror, but people that were in the horror also talking even in a softer way than me. Yes, I met people that are talking softer than me, and they came from the horror. So. But from some reason, nobody is hearing them. They are not in the front. They are not in the media. Yes, you have to go into libraries and find their videos. Yes, but they are there. Believe me, I saw many of them, and they are there. And those people are the ones that give me the influence, the ashra. Yes, those people.
Yeah.
Yeah, from those people, yes, I met many of them, and especially people that lost families and saw people killed in front of their eyes. And when they are so forgiving, it makes me feel like I'm in a different world.
You certainly made a change today.
Thank
And
you.
one small step starts a march.
March?
Yeah. Every big march starts with one small step. Thank you so much.
Thank you to all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you
Bye-bye.
so much. This was just a stellar program, and for the benefit of everybody who is listening, I'm going to put this presentation straight into the hands of somebody who will get this presentation out to the public school teachers in Northern California, who will use this information to influence children in our public school systems, and that's how we'll be able to make a change.
Thank you. I'm available. If anybody wants me, they can always reach me. It's okay. I can talk to them if they really want. No problem.
I'm sure they'll be in contact with you.
Okay. Thank you.
So you may want to block my number, but.
Okay. I
So
will take.
thank you everybody for your inquiries and questions and contributing to the conversation. Thank you, Tzvika, from the
Thank
bottom
you
of
very
my
much.
heart.
Thank you to all for listening.
It was my honor in
Thank you.
hosting
Thank
you
you,
today.
Dorit.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good night and peace.
Peace. Yes, peace.
Yes.
Be
Bye-bye.
well and enjoy your freedom tomorrow, Tzvika.
Yeah, for
You're
sure.
out of the hotel room.
Shalom.
Shalom.
Bye. Shabbat tov.
Shalom. Bye-bye.